us. We're also taking a flight at 5 a.m.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know it's like 5:45.
Yeah, 5:45. Yeah.
Where are you guys flying?
To Istanbul, right?
Istanbul.
Yeah, to Istanbul.
Are you going from here or from
From here. What about you?
Spain?
So you're staying here or?
No, no, in
They will have a transfer there as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you moving to Georgia?
We just need to figure out with Stanislav.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Istanbul and then to Warsaw and then back to Kyiv.
Oh, so you're based in Kiev?
Yeah. Героям слава. Героям слава.
I can't believe there's so much light.
Yeah, too
It
much
almost
light.
hurts.
Yeah. That's true.
You feel like you're in a movie, don't you?
It's not the time used to it, but
That at least makes up for the empty also.
Huh?
yeah, let's just announce that this panel is cancelled and everyone will be happy, except for us.
No. You're a very interesting guest. We cannot skip you. We want to hear your stories. I know your stories. Он там всех вызывает, да.
Сидел в холле? Вот девушка красивая.
Да, красивая. Вот видите, такая
Нет, говорит,
стратегия.
невозможно.
Красивая девушка должна прийти и позвать.
Это все /VC to go for our seed round. Again, at the point on Astana Hub, we were super lucky because when you think of accelerators, right, they're meant to increase your sales, they're meant to increase your processes, that's all amazing. But like Astana Hub did something amazing for us. They actually gave us an opportunity to present to President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. And when you have a platform like that as a young entrepreneur, you see that you can bring important things on the agenda, right? So for that, I'm incredibly thankful for the accelerator that we attended, the Silkway Accelerator. And I want to finish with a note about Tajikistan. So outsourcing, again, is important, it's great, but in September of this year, the president of Tajikistan signed our national AI strategy, which is the first in Central Asia. It's a document that was part of my diploma, master's thesis at Harvard. We worked for 1 year on it, and we're super lucky that Tajikistan became the pioneer in this sphere. So we look into AI in our country not just as some fancy tool that will attract media. We actually don't really care about it. We look into AI as a potential for leapfrog, that this is an industry where machine learning, computer vision, NLP, etc., can help us leapfrog growth and become a regional leader. And the government is behind this vision. So we're trying to build something global, being based in Tajikistan, not Silicon Valley, and I hope to prove that it is possible. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, Azizjon, for this great story, for this inspiring story. I hope we will get back to you with some questions from the audience at the end of our session. And now I would like to pass the floor to Natia Gvazava. So she represents, as I mentioned, Identomat. So this is AI KYC powered and identity verification tool. But she also has got extensive experience in banking. So I would like to ask Natia to share her opinion on how innovation is how innovation influences banking sphere, and what is the role of banks in the post-fintech era. So please share your thoughts.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here. Can everyone hear me? I will try to be quick and finish this panel as soon as possible, if Rafal agrees. No, it's a joke. Thank you guys for being here. I know it's difficult, it's the end of the day and everyone is in a hurry to get to dinner, so I will try to be brief. It's my third time with StrategEast speaking on the panel. It's becoming a little hobby of mine to be here every year, so next year, guys, please don't forget to invite me. I've been with Identomat for 3 years now. Basically, I joined the company before we started our sales to the industry, and it was the beginning of the pandemic. What we do is the AI-based document recognition, document reader, face identification, remote KYC, remote KYB. Eventually, what this does for banking, financial sector, even gambling sector, and also now emerging because of the increasing crypto compliance requirements, we provide at least 20% reduction in operational costs that are related to identification of the clients. And as Jonathan mentioned on previous sessions, after pandemic, life will never be the same, and this is especially true for the banking and finance services, because people don't want to go to the bank anymore. They want to receive all the services that are possibly receivable remotely to be delivered to their homes, to their computers, to their gadgets, to their devices. And since devices are such an integral part of our lives nowadays, we are trying to make our system available on all the platforms that are there. And our capabilities are expanding even to the sanctions checks, etc., etc. When we were, well, actually, when I left the National Bank of Georgia after 10 years of being the general counsel there, I was faced with a choice between a large bank that, one of the largest banks that operates now in Georgia and listed on a London Stock Exchange, and a small company which was only like 12 people at that point, which was Identomat, and I chose for Identomat because I see the future in there. Of course, regulations are an issue, but I think that there are many ways to look at the regulations, and the best way to do it is to look at the opportunities. And when we were starting to sell the product, it was the time when new fintech regulations were being introduced and tested in Georgia. And when we were discussing with Zurab, our co-founder and the CEO, who is now sitting in the audience, whether we shall go for Georgian market or maybe we should aim for global market, I said to them that Georgian regulator is a well-reputed regulator. They are conservative, they have high standards, they have new regulations, innovative approaches, and good personnel. Of course, one way to look at the regulations is to perceive them as innovation killers and progress killers. But I choose to look at the regulations as opportunities, because they usually leave the window where you can fit innovation, and well, it's up to you to fit the standard. And as soon as we became operational on Georgian financial market, it opened the door for us to, claim that, listen, the National Bank of Georgia trusts us, and now we can sell our product to you, and we will meet your regulations, we will comply with GDPR, we will provide you the service that you need, we will provide the features that you need, and we will work on the features that you might see as requiring some tweaking. So basically, the regulation that was introduced gave us the opportunity to, it was like a passport, like we are waiving these regulations, we are satisfying these standards, and now it's up to you to choose us. And yes, fintech is a challenge for regulators, and fintech is a challenge for fintech companies themselves, because fintech is about artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is about data, and for us it's many times large amounts of personal data, and most of the time it's biometrics, and there are a lot of ethical and legal issues that need to be addressed before you can build a viable and most importantly a trustworthy product, because if you are not trustworthy, the bank will not, the client will not allow you to access their client's data. So again, when we speak of the regulations and fintech, this framework that the regulators provide in the form of sandboxes or innovation hubs or innovation, opportunities that they create in their regulations, this is something that also creates trust for the market, and creates opportunity for you to grow your business as well, because if you are not trustworthy for your own regulators, then other clients will not trust you. So this is basically how we proceeded with our business. We have grown quite big since then. We have raised 3.2 million in seed funding. And our client base is growing, and it's mainly financial industries and gambling and now crypto industries. As to the banks and large financial institutions, whether they will be in the market in 10 years, I think that with the financial resources that they have opportunity to hire good people, good staff, and they have the opportunity to know what's going to come. So they are smart enough to invest in fintech. They're smart enough to implement fintech in their daily operations, and they will do that. If they don't, it's most certain that they will die out. So for those who do not embrace fintech as a part of their operations, it's going to be a challenge to continue operating. So this basically concludes my introduction. I'm open to questions from audience in the end and also from the participants.
Thank you. Thank you, Natia, for sharing your story and for sharing your expertise with us. So now I would like to pass the mic to Rafal, and as I mentioned, he represents Mastercard. So my question to Rafal is, so what is the role of Mastercard in helping fintechs rise? And also, could you please share, in your opinion, what is the future for payments?
Daria, thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, StrategEast. Great to be with you here. I have a pleasure to take care of Mastercard in Central Asia, being based in Kazakhstan, but also responsible for Uzbekistan and other markets. Answering the question about the fintechs and the future, let's say, looking at the audience, I see there are some different IT providers for the different partners, some fintechs and others. So I will do my best in this short part, split it into two. So talk briefly about Mastercard. I just have one slide which I want to use as a supportive for the second part. And the second part as well, explain a bit how are we working with the banks. Our partners are mainly banks in the different markets. So maybe some of the ideas to make it even easier for you to talk to the banks, to find some customers, to actually push them even to the certain solutions. So firstly about Mastercard. So I mean, normally I can also say Mastercard is one of the, let's say, oldest fintechs with more than 50 years of experience. At the end, it is a technology company in the payment industry. One part is not here on the slides, but again, I encourage any fintech as well, look at for example, corporates, how they grow, and what is important. I mean, we have seen the nice presentation before, but also like, what's your vision, mission, what are your values? So for example, very often it is being very, let's say, appreciated and valued by even by the banks, by the different corporates, if you think in the similar way. So for example, from Mastercard perspective, we say our vision is world beyond cash. So if somebody says, okay, who is or what is the competitor for Mastercard, we say cash, and then we see world beyond cash, and therefore you can focus on the much longer term. So vision usually very important. Secondly, mission. So we say, yes, we use all the technology which we have in order for the payments to be very simple, very fast, very convenient, very, very important, very safe. So for you, any transaction is happening in milliseconds, potentially normally in milliseconds, not in seconds, but everything what is going behind this, it's let's say rather a complex process. So again, vision as a world beyond cash, mission as using the technology so any user can very easily, convenient, fast, securely pay in any time and any place in the world. And the last one, I mean, today on the earlier panels we have heard a lot about people, and business is about people. So for us also the company values are very important. And values I would split it into two. So first it's a partnership and trust. Certainly, I would say probably even more valued and valid here in the region, but this partnership and trust with the partners, with the customers, are very important. A second part is accountability, ownership. I would also add agility, and this agility also very important for startups, for fintechs. So again, how do we work? So again, not like a very hierarchical organization. Again, everybody has its own accountability over certain topics that can move with the speed. So very briefly about, let's say, Mastercard. Again, any fintech can use. On the fintech's startups itself, so here I will talk about this slide, and also why, maybe also one part, why do we talk about fintechs, why we are so engaged. Look at any bank, by the way, in case you have any ideas and whatever banks are, call it, not listening to you, or you don't know whom to reach out, please also reach out to us, maybe we can help, because this enabling, it's very important. As I said, what is the main problem for the banks are mainly resources, and very often these are IT resources. Or maybe they are, but they are very focused on the core different developments, etc. And very often the bank literally has no time, no power, no resources to think about anything else. So you can come with any IT solution. As I said, it can be a mobile applications, it can be anything, let's say, for the better user experience. It may relate for, if it's a bank which is actually making the acquiring, so acquiring for the payments at the merchant location, you can develop a lot of there. And maybe something for the usage, for the campaigns, for anything else. So this enablers, I think, great, let's say, opportunity for you. And by the way, what we have heard the presentation earlier, it's also a big part of enabling microfinance organization to make a quicker scoring, to make a better scoring as well. So this is very important. But on the other side, you can think, oh, by the way, I'm a tech company, but maybe it's a edutech, maybe medtech, maybe it's not a fintech, maybe it's a very different area. So actually I have, let's call it, no option to talk to the banks. I would say let's not have any limiting thinking or behavior, because what is actually, when you look at the banks currently, they are not looking from, oh, by the way, how many customers I have. That's not so much important. Majority of the banks right now, they measure their performance or they measure their customers at least based on MAU, monthly active users. In this case, you need the engagement with the customer. Very often this engagement is not how often you can take a mortgage. It doesn't happen too often. Yes, you have to pay the mortgage, so it can be also engagement. How often do you take a loan for a car or for anything else? This type of engagement, they don't happen too often. So in this case, actually, for this value-added services, you could literally, the sky is even not the limit, because it can be related to loyalty, it can be related to some gaming, it can be just related, you know, how to display certain products and services. It can be just something interesting where you believe a consumer will need this. And by the way, as we have heard, even also recently, also in here in Uzbekistan, that again, different type of fintechs may be developing, and we don't need, for example, dedicated governmental apps. It may be also very easily to deploy governmental services into mobile banking applications, to the user interface to which the user already get used to. So you may have a lot of services, or you can just enable to link, for example, the governmental service with the banking service, that consumer sees everything in the mobile banking applications. So whether enabler or value-added service, and it can be, I would say, any service which just engages customers, I think there is a huge potential for startups, for fintechs to develop in this area. So where we can help, firstly, if you are working on something with any financial institutions, by the way, if you are working with the retailer, with the merchant, that would be interesting for us as well. So if you are already working on some service, please reach out, tell. It would be certainly very interesting for me and my colleagues to hear, and a bit of brainstorm, is there anything we can help? If you have a great idea which is fitting to any of these boxes, but you don't know where to reach out, or for example, maybe you are developing in Uzbekistan, but you want to go to Kazakhstan, or by the way, maybe you are in the region, but you want to go global in this case, because you think it's whatever, nicely it will fit to Germany, France, whatever other region, please also reach out, and maybe there is something we can help. Mastercard additionally has the program related to fintechs and startups, a bit more on the, let's say, more developed stage. It is called, you may go to the website, check startpath.com, or just put a start path Mastercard, and you will find this. Why this is related to the fintechs and startups on the a bit more developed stage? Because I mean, you are potentially good in one market, we can just help it to scale it. So what if the customer from US, from Canada, from France, from any other region say, oh, by the way, I like it, I want to have it deployed tomorrow or whatever in the feasible future, so it cannot be just the beginning. So we have such a program. Daria, just also answer the last part of the question, like where do we see the future? I mean, certainly, we look at payments. So potentially we are also in this, let's say, lucky part and the industry that we like many things. Like as we say, there are things money can buy. For anything else, there is Mastercard. So whatever you look at, whatever you do, at the end, you need to finalize with payments. So for us, this payments is very important. What is a form factor at the end? It literally doesn't matter. You know? Yes, plastic card, it is moving out, but it still fits to a lot of areas. Then we have, as I said, virtual, you have tokens, you have other form factors. But you know, there is this huge trend of as well invisible payments. If you look, I mean, you can reach yourself about home commerce, about car commerce, or in-car commerce, and many others. So whatever you can do, at the end you just have to finalize the payment. Whatever, you just left the taxi, and what, you haven't paid? Yes, you paid. It's just that payments is going through afterwards. So certainly this is one trend. Of course, everything going to digital. We also heard how the pandemic has speed up a lot of processes, but that also is linked with risks, also with the cyber risks in this case. And by the way, these are not only for the consumers, even bigger risk for the companies itself, and companies are sitting on more and more data. So for us, if you look, I mean, at the end, we are also a security company. So if you look at what we do, what is really in our services, we have heard about the AI. We have been also purchasing to our portfolio one of the big, well-developed Brighterion company, which is also helping with the AI and everything which is happening behind transaction. Again, with the purpose that transaction happens in the milliseconds, but it has to be super secure. In this case, and the whole process which is behind this. So I would say, certainly going to this, again, payments are there. We like it or not, it has to be with such an experience that we like it. And yes, all the digital services, again, more payment becoming invisible, and anything which relates to the safety, security, even more important than ever before. Okay? I pause here. Later on, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rafal. It was very insightful. And at this point, I would like to open the floor for questions and answers. So at first, we would like to get some questions from the audience. So are there any questions? Are there any questions from the audience? If not, I will ask my questions. Okay. So my question, it will probably be applicable to each of you. So do you think, is Eurasia capable of becoming a sandbox for the fintech industry where the solutions will be rolled in and then implemented in Western countries? So first, Azizjon, would you like to answer the question?
Yes, I think the answer is definitely yes, because if you look in, I'll give you the case of our company, right? So when I came back to Tajikistan, we first spoke to the regulator, the national bank, because without the national bank's implicit, approval, you can't start launching credit decision software for risk, right? It's a very sensitive thing. Banks are, holding money of depositors who are regular consumers. So whenever you have a technology that has some sort of innovation to it, the regulator has to go through the process. And in our case, the national bank initially gave approval for it. And now we have essentially 5 of the leaders of microfinancing in Tajikistan as our clients. And next year, we're going to issue somewhere around $30 million in 1 year with the portfolio that we're getting, which is going to be a sizable portion of the entire microfinancing in the country, right? And now that we're in Uzbekistan, we're in Kazakhstan, we see similar trends. So I think that the way we can win is by becoming a regulatory sandbox where, yes, there needs to be a diligence approach where we kind of, test and especially stress test different technologies. But if we win by being quick if we go against, the sort of the view that, regulators have to be slow and they have to be bureaucratic, then we might be the ones that actually leapfrog the technologies first. That's the pitch we made in Tajikistan, and so far it's been working well.
Thank you. Natia, what do you think?
To be honest, I don't imagine a negative answer on your question, because virtually anywhere you can have a sandbox, as long as regulators create an enabling environment for development and for fintech. And of course, sandbox implies by definition a secure environment whereby the negative effects of the testing cannot go or spill over to the overall market. So thereby it needs to be very closely monitored. But again, when I say closely monitored, I don't mean that the regulators need to be necessarily the killers of the development. They need to allow for certain liberties and certain innovations. And there is huge fear on the side of the regulators, and there is a huge enduring motivation on the side of fintech. So those two need to be arranged in such a manner that they not only coexist, but they also bring benefits to the market in the future. So the answer is definitely yes.
Thank you. Rafal?
So I will also start with the short answer, yes, but let me elaborate. So again, I will be looking from the perspective of the consumers and banks, as I elaborated earlier. So, I mean, here in the region, consumers are similar as the other part of the world. We have the similar needs as whatever consumers in US, in Canada, Asia, Australia, etc. So that's one. Secondly, banks, other institutions, they also need providers, they need the technology, etc. So, and I would even firstly not look at the sandbox, because anybody can open the company and think, oh, but I just provide these services and I'm going to provide it in Uzbekistan, in Tajikistan or Kazakhstan, and I can do it. Of course, if I have to go for the certain regulatory parts, I have to go. But otherwise, I can be just an IT company providing certain services in this case. The region is great and it's huge. However, we calculate, somebody can say 60, 70 million. If you add some other countries, it's already 100 million. So you almost like you don't have to go too far to already find a lot of consumers or a lot of other partners to which you can deliver. And this can be actually, I would treat this as a sandbox where you can actually, or the test box, or the test area or pilot area, and out of that you can really expand, because you can much easier showcase certain examples. So again, I would rather encourage for that. As for the sandboxes itself, I mean, it's great. There are IT parks, there are financial centers, etc., because they just accelerate. So they may have preferential rules for the registration, for taxation, for jurisdictional part. So this is just, from my perspective, just the enabler which speeds up. I think governmental and public institutions very well developed. I mean, literally right now I see every country is talking about certain rules and certain enablements. I mean, how many times we have heard today also from the minister, from the vice minister, about Uzbekistan, about IT park, about other areas as well. So I would say yes. But I would just not wait for, oh, I have to be registered in the sandbox in order to develop. I would say everybody has a potential, even if you don't go directly through the sandbox. Just the region is great.
Thank you, Rafal. Azizjon, what would you like to add?
I just want to, like, one thing that I forgot to mention is, totally agree with what just, Natia and Rafa said. I think in terms of sandboxes, it's also important to think about commonality of standards. So for example, look at the European Union, right? You have GDPR, you have common AI principles that are accepted by all of the EU members. And if you look at our countries, Central Asia, let's just take Central Asia for now, right? What we can do is we can adapt the same approach where countries at least agree on ground principles for these foundational technologies. So let me give you a specific example, right? In Tajikistan's national AI strategy, one way where we differentiated ourselves is that we dedicated a whole section to principles and ethics of AI. That every algorithm that's deployed needs to be fair, needs to be transparent, and needs to be interpretable. That means that these are the foundational standards that regulators need to adapt when they're evaluating AI algorithms. So now we want to take the initiative of proposing these common AI standards on the Central Asian level. We spoke to our Uzbek friends, we got some support. We're now speaking to our Kazakh friends, and if that's the initiative that passes, that would be an example of how, if you're a company that's trying to test in one place, you can at least have commonality and quick scale across the region. That's how we can win on a global level, because the market is bigger as opposed to one specific market.
Thank you, Azizjon. Do the audience want to ask some more questions?
You gotta offer them coffee, I think that's
What? I can offer you coffee, yeah. If there are no questions from the audience, I would like to thank our speakers, our panelists. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you, guests, for staying till the very end with us. It's 7 p.m. already. On behalf of StrategEast, I would like to thank you all for being here today. We will be happy to see you again next year in another destination. And thank you, panelists. It was very nice hearing your experience and your stories. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Daria.
Thank you.